And you talked a little bit about, talking to your kids and conversation. So Janine, tell me a little bit about, the conversations that you have had with your kids about racism and being Black in America.
I shared that I have a 28-year-old son, and when he was on scholarship at college for cross country, so he would run all the time through the neighborhood. And when he was in college was around the time of the Trayvon Martin incident. And so, the conversation with him looked like, don't leave too early. Don't run in the dark. Don't wear a hoodie. I mean, he wears a hoodie everywhere, and he goes on a 10-mile run, just to stay in shape for cross country. But no one's going to ask you, are you on scholarship at a prestigious art school for cross country? They're going to see a Black man running through the neighborhood. And, it's scary. It is. I mean, it's so scary to watch him, run from the house, when he was younger. We had a conversation the other day, and I said, well, I know we had the talk with you. What do you do now if you're stopped with the police? He's like, oh, man, I'm stopped all the time, and he's like 10 and 2. I don't reach for my wallet until they tell me to. Yes, sir. No, sir. And really with my oldest, I was always afraid because he talks really slow. And I was always afraid that he wouldn't answer the police officers' questions fast enough for them.
Yeah.
And that, he would hesitate and not get his thoughts out to say where he's going or if this was his car. And I just thought he would be nervous and he just wouldn't speak up enough. So that's just always been a very scary thing. My daughter is 25. She is married. She is expecting her first child, and it's a little boy. Now, her husband is Caucasian, but she is going to have a Black boy. She's going to have a child that is a Black boy. She has been crying now. Yes, pregnancy hormones, she cries at everything. But when George Floyd happened, and she's out of the country right now, but watching it, America through social media, she cried for days on end, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have a little Black boy. And so we talked about that with her, and just calming her in the fears that she has, and she's not even due to deliver until September. And my 11-year-old, I got filled up this weekend just thinking he's so sweet, and that no matter what I say to him, he won't know until it happens to him. And he won't know the experience of he has enough money to buy whatever it is he wants to buy in the store, but be questioned. And for him to be questioned just because he's a Black male. And it really did kind of choke me up thinking about that. We watched a show on Netflix. I think it was on Netflix, just so that we could have more conversation around this. And so he understands the history of slavery and Jim Crow and how he's Black and how he may be treated somewhere. But I know deep down inside in his innocence, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And until someone says, the wrong thing, he plays baseball, and there are baseball fields that we go to that the crowd uses the N-word to call these little boys on a baseball field the N-word. So we have to travel with his team and go watch him play. And this is 2020, and these are children.
Yeah.
And there is a chance that this could happen, considering, a ball field that we could go to here in Georgia. So, it's real.
Yeah, it's sad. And you want to keep the innocence of your children, right? You don't want to tell them the world is bad. There are people who, are going to try to bring you down. I mean, you don't want that. You want them to think anything can happen. Anything is possible. But the reality is you have to prepare them. You've got to prepare them for what could happen. So it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, how about you? What are some of the conversations that maybe you have had or will have with your children?
Sure. I have three, Miles, Mika, and Deja. They're 8, 14, and 16. And a lot of their talks, prior to this have, with them being, one of the only Black kids in their class, have been discussion about silly things that their classmates refer to as racist, like which are definitely not. Like the teacher introduces a book about penguins called Black and White, and someone says, "Oh, that's racist." So just to clarify with them, that's not racist. The slave codes written into law are racist. Redlining is racist. Police brutality, on and on. In fact, after Floyd, Mika, my 14-year-old, she had three of her friends over. One of them's white, two of them are Indian, and they were giving me these examples and these jokes. And so we really sat down and I explained to them, more about what was going on, more about the true history of African Americans in the country. And that felt really good. That felt like what we ought to be doing. Of course, afterwards, I made sure my wife texted their moms and dads so that when they get home, like the mom and dad already knows that we had this deep conversation. But, this, I think, is going to be a 50 to 100-year problem to solve. And so we likely won't see it solved in our lifetime. So in my eyes, we really need to equip our kids to be prepared to solve it. I want them equipped with facts, like Janean mentioned, to know the history, United States wise, to know their own history, their own ancestral history, to be equipped to start to take actions now, however small, because those are the seeds that are going to get planted and solve this thing long term. And for some reason, these things happening, it realizes the importance of being connected to your own roots and your own family. We're privileged, and we all would say that, right? We've had to put in a lot of work to get to where we are. And now that we are where we are, we have a privilege and we have a responsibility, to act when we can to help others in our family, whether it be just a word or mentoring or whatever. So, this is it has been an ongoing conversation with my kids. This has intensified it. And in some ways, it's kind of been a good thing because it's put an urgency on things. But that's what we've been talking about.